All right, good morning, everyone. This is NS Steampunk. I am at the Railway Museum of Greater Cincinnati here in Covington, Kentucky. And one of the cabooses we are looking at here is a former Baltimore and Ohio Railroad I-12 wagon top bay window caboose. These cabooses first began receiving production in 1941 in Kaiser, West Virginia. This caboose was later part of the Chessie System Railroad, where it was renumbered to 902460. As in 1973, that was the year the Chessie System Railroad was incorporated, and it actually obtained, if you look a little bit clearer underneath the B&O paint scheme, you actually see a little bit of remnants of the Chessie System paint scheme that was prominent on these cabooses between 1973 and 1983. And then I believe to the left right here, this might not be the actual one. This is a Baltimore and Ohio wood-sided caboose, I-93 class, number C-1611. I was told that this caboose was originally assigned to the CH&D, that was the Cincinnati, Hamilton, and Dayton rail line, before the B&O purchased it in December of 1917. So these are just some of the cabooses here that are on display here at the museum. Let's take a little walk, going a little bit north, and we'll check out some of the other equipment that's on display. Okay, so this is an example of an industrial factory locomotive. This is a 65-tonner GE locomotive, number 5. It was originally constructed to run on the Twin Branch Railroad, which was a 2-mile short line that served a generating station on the St. Joseph River on the east side of Mishawka. It originally worked at the Tanners Creek Power Plant in Lawrenceburg, Indiana, and then later served the Indiana-Michigan Power Plant until its retirement in 2004. This locomotive was built in October of 1950 and was one of the most common 65-tonner center cabs, which began production in 1948. This locomotive actually resembles a 44-tonner at a first glance. That is because this is more of an upgraded 44-tonner. As you can tell in this locomotive here, there are no radiator shutters on the hood front. But as you can also see here, this locomotive has a large front porch. And the locomotive is capable of generating 400 to 550 horsepower. Now, the reason this is called a center cab, sorry, that's my radio scanner here, is because the cab is directly in the center, and between the cab, you have 2 compartments. There's an engine in each side of the compartment. Earlier center cab locomotives would have engines capable of developing 150 horsepower each, so if you do 150 times 150, you get 300 horsepower. These are the wheel trucks on the locomotive, and that is the cab side. I believe that the horn on this locomotive, if I'm correct, is a Westinghouse single chime air horn. And I believe this is the engineer side, as seen here. And there's lots of other miscellaneous equipment on display here. So let's continue on to our next exhibit. Okay, so this is a Louisville and Nashville transfer caboose number 6635, which was built by the Fruit Growers Express in 1981. This caboose, typically cabooses you would see on the back end of trains. There are many different types. These types of transfer cabooses you would typically see used on local trains, which would go for about short distances, or used in yards like these back in the day. They'd be used for yard transfers, so that's how the name transfer caboose came into place. This one actually has a shoving platform on board. In 1983, the Clinchfield Railroad merged with the Louisville-Nashville Railroad to create the Family Line system. And in 1986, the Family Line system was bought out by CSX. Actually, one of the sisters of this caboose is residing at the Ohio Railway Museum in Worthington, Ohio. So you can actually, if you ever come up to visit Worthington sometime, take a look there. So now we'll go up inside the caboose and we'll take an inside tour. This is the rest of the yard looking a little bit north. Alright folks, so here's the interior of the Caboose. Right over here is a stainless steel New York Central Railroad coach. And here's some of the other equipment, including some Louisville and Nashville Railroad passenger cars. And this is a Chessie, Ohio flat car, and you got a couple other box cars looking a little bit south. Right up here is the red marker light on the back end of this Caboose here. And back in the day, if you were a rear brakeman or a conductor, this is where you'd be standing during the entire shove. You'd be using radio and hand signals at all times while the train is in motion. If for some reason you didn't have a radio, you would always use your hand signals that you learned since the beginning of the railroading days. There are a couple other miscellaneous equipment on display here, including semaphore signal. There's a troop sleeper car on display. And then this basically is a brake pressure gauge on the Caboose. You can actually test the air on the train. You could use a brake gauge on the end of the air hose, or simply look at the air gauge inside the Caboose. And we also have another troop sleeper just to the west of our Caboose here. Alright folks, that just does it for our first video. Please stay tuned for more clips as they become available. This is NS Steampunk reporting live from the Railway Museum of Greater Cincinnati here in Covington, Kentucky. Tower 93, over and out.